Hey, foodie friends, on this episode of Supper with Sylvia, I'm having a heartfelt conversation with Chef Erick Williams, James Beard award-winning chef and the visionary behind Virtue on Chicago's South Side. He named his restaurant Virtue because he says it reflects how he lives, with intention, generosity, and kindness. His Southern-inspired dishes have turned Virtue into a national must-visit attraction, drawing food lovers from across the country, including those who might normally never venture to the South Side. But beyond his incredible food, Chef Williams is uplifting a new generation through the Virtue Leadership Development Program. He's mentoring young Black and brown men and women in leadership and culinary arts. So tune in and be inspired by how food, culture, and community are all coming together. This one hits deep. Erick Williams, so nice to have you. Thanks for joining me. I'm so excited you're doing this.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
And first of all, congratulations. You just opened the brand new Cantina Rosa. I was fortunate enough to be there for the opening. What a beautiful, beautiful place. Tell everybody about this.
So Cantina Rosa is our Mexican spirit and agave bar. We focus on tropical drinks and Mexican spirits. And we wanted to have a place that felt a bit more like a lounge where people could come before dinner, after dinner, or, smack dab in the middle, or a reset or a catch up with friends. And we're really, really happy. It's been a success thus far. And we look forward to the growth of it.
Well, that's just one of the many places you have. So it all started with Virtue. Then we have Daisy's Po' Boy, right? Top This Mac and Cheese, Mustard Seed Kitchen, and now Cantina Rosa. I want to start with Virtue because that was your first place. And I have to tell everybody, I have had the honor of eating there a few times. And I've shared this story with Erick already. Erick, you've already heard this, but just the food is so good. And Erick kept sending us out food and I was eating and I looked at you, Erick, and I said, I wish my stomach was bigger. This food is absolutely delicious.
Well, thank you so much.
So tell everybody about the concept of Virtue. What is it that you want people to experience, not only in the food when they eat there, but the vibe and the surroundings?
Well, I think the only way to combat the negatives that we deal with on a day-to-day basis, our anxiety, our stressors, which when we're hungry, show up in the form of hangry when you mix the two words, angry and hungry. And we don't realize sometimes how we're projecting. And so Virtue works really, really hard to be a respite or a reset of sorts. And we combat that with hospitality. And that form of hospitality is displayed by kindness. And so what we want people to feel first and foremost is this very intentional, high level of kindness. And if we can usher you into our space and treat you well, the food tastes better without us even working that hard. Now, we happen to have a group of very hardworking young cooks and chefs who are focused on delivering delicious night after night. Mm-hmm. We have the sounds of many of the R&B greats and the soul music greats, from James Brown to Aretha Franklin playing in the backdrop. It's one of the few restaurants in the city that delivers a very focused and plated version of Southern foods that are both influenced by the Great Migration and the Black diaspora. And so I think you can expect a fully submersive Black experience that's open to all who care to enter in.
And one of the other things I love about it is the artwork. You have taken the time to make sure that that art also creates the vibe that you were just talking about. What are some of the favorite pieces you have there? Because when you go inside and you sit in your restaurant, you are struck by some of the artwork on the wall because it's pretty powerful.
Well, there's a Theaster Gates piece that is really special to us. It's one of the few pieces that we left hanging during the pandemic. It's a really heavy piece in every sense of the word. It's the weight of the thing is extreme, but the weight of the message behind it is extreme. It is reclaimed hoses that represent the hoses that were used to break peaceful protests that were coined as race riots during the civil rights era. And it's a really beautiful piece. However, it's very striking. So once you're informed of what it is, it's a lot to kind of take in at first sight. We have pieces by MacArthur Binion. We have pieces by Raleigh Vasquez. We have a piece by the amazing photographer turned friend, Dawood Bey. And so there's some pretty cool images throughout the space that have been carefully curated by the artist. And it really speaks to Chicago's arts community. And that community is the most densely populated community of Black fine artists anywhere in the nation.
You know, it's interesting to hear what you're doing out there and to have experienced it as well, because, in Chicago, we're a city of neighborhoods. So people tend to stay in their neighborhoods. They tend to eat in their neighborhoods. To just say, oh, I'm going to drive to the South Side to have dinner. Some people don't ever do that because they're so used to just kind of sitting in their neighborhoods. And I think that that's something that you have done with not only Virtue, but some of the other restaurants that you have there, is that you have brought people who have lived in this city forever to the South Side and to experience a different side of Chicago. And not only are they driving out there because they know they're going to get this amazing food, but once they get out there, they don't even realize it. They're part of a story. They're part of history. That was a goal for you, wasn't it?
It was definitely a goal for us to be as close to a Black community as possible. It was also a goal for us to be able to feed the parents that have toiled for many years to rear their children in lower middle to high middle working class communities that may not eat out as much because they're home cooking to save. And maybe restaurants for them was an opportunity to get out for a special occasion and not as much for a home meal replacement or for, a 2 to 3 time a week outing. And we thought about that in terms of price point. My own mother doesn't eat out very much unless it's her birthday or some occasion. And now she gets out more. And she doesn't get out more because I own a restaurant or because I'm a chef. I've been a chef for some time, and she still continues with her patterns. But the place feels more comfortable for her. And she feels like she belongs in that space. And that's what we wanted to extend. We wanted people of color to have a space in our city that had a level of sophistication, polish as it related to its service style and its plating, the delivery of the food, and how people were received. And we have been able to really knock it out of the park with all of those goals. We have people traveling from the north suburbs, as far as Glencoe. We have people coming out of the west suburbs, from Naperville, People were coming from Indianapolis proper, the south suburbs, and from around the country. And I can't tell you that we were hoping that people would travel from around, from around the country and around the world, as a matter of fact, to eat our food. I don't know if that was exactly my aim, but it was my aim to have a space where people felt like they belonged.
Yeah, that's incredible too, because it's not just known as a Black restaurant. I mean, it's a restaurant for everybody. And there are certain areas that you go to where, like even in my Latino community, you see more Latinos eating in a certain area, but you've really brought people together, which I think is really representative of what you try to do and who you are. And I'm curious, you were born and raised in Chicago. Tell me how your time growing up in Chicago has shaped the person you are today and what you do.
Well, growing up in Chicago has shaped the person that I am in every aspect. And it is definitely ingrained in everything that I do. I haven't lived anywhere else in my life. I've visited many places that influence and inspire. But Chicago is home for me. Chicago represents community for me. And Chicago is my anchor. It's my base. So when I think about Midwest hospitality and how that informs me, I want to expand that and extend it as far as we possibly can.
Yeah.
Chicago's a meat and potato town. And so we make sure that we have a hefty portion of red meat by way of those braised short ribs on the menu at all time. If you are craving a steak, you're not going to go for salmon, but you will go for a short rib. And Chicago, being known as the Windy City, has a lot of grit. People work hard. They expect an honest day's work for an honest day's pay. And it's an integral town. Despite, what the media may say in some instances, in our political scenes and other genres, the reality is our one-off politicians or one-off individuals who do wrong are not a representative of the entire city and or state of Illinois. And so I'm a Chicago born and bred through and through from Chicago's West Side. And I feel fortunate to have been received on the South Side by way of Virtue.
Yeah, and that has been quite the accomplishment. You also are very big on giving back, as I said at the top of our discussion. You have a special program to help in creating a new generation of chefs, the Virtue Leadership Development Program. Tell me, because we haven't had a chance to kind of delve into this is what you do, Erick. I've heard people tell me stories about how you go and you seek young men and women who you want to give opportunities who may not necessarily have ever thought they wanted to be in the restaurant world. So let's talk about this program, why you do it, and the goal, I know, isn't always necessarily molding a chef. Tell us about that.
So, many years ago, I started feeding people by way of feeding the homeless community during the holidays. And that provided a few outlets for me. It allowed me to rethink providing care by way of food to people, and bringing together a team to execute that effort. And a little bit of a unusual way. We had an experience where we're feeding a men's shelter, and someone made the mistake of saying to one of the gentlemen in the shelter that it was time for us to feed, that they should, get with the rest of the group. And the person paused in like confusion and said, "I'm sorry." And then the individual on our team repeated, "Hey, you need to get with the rest of the group. It's time for us. We're about to open the doors. It's time for us to feed." And the gentleman paused and grabbed their hand and said, "Thank you. No one has looked at me like a normal person in a
Wow.
long time. I'm one of the people you're feeding."
Wow.
And that was it. That was the moment where we were just like, okay, this is bigger than what we're trying to do. We're adding value back to people's lives, right? We're identifying a value that they're craving for. And it's just a through line, it's a normality. And so I was able to take those moments, those stories, and think about how they could be more virtuous. Hence the name Virtue. So we don't just add value to people's lives that are homeless or that are without or that are down on their luck or in shelters, but we do it for people every day, no matter what walk of life. We don't care what your status is, what your rank is, what your station is in life. What we care about is creating a sense of value that we can all relate to. And that value happens to be integrity. It happens to be a reset of purpose and normality. It happens to be a value that's centered around letting people know that we care. And we don't care about everything that's wrong in your life. We care about the individual and their importance to the world and all of us.
And we'll be right back. Hi, foodie friends. I wanted to let you know I was out at Piccolo Sonio restaurant the other night, sitting in that back patio that I love so much with the twinkling lights, and it was the perfect Chicago night. And as I was leaving, I noticed that Tony Priolo, the chef there, he now has his products on display that he sells at Mariano's. So he's been selling the balsamic and the olive oil for a while now, but now he has pasta sauces and he's got his pastas, including the squid ink pasta, which who's ever going to make squid ink pasta at home? Now you can buy Tony's. I made a recipe from Ina Garten that called for squid ink pasta. I used his pasta sauce and shrimp, and I felt like a professional chef. Wanted you to know about this because this is part of the Mariano's We Love Local program, and I'm happy to say Mariano's is now the official sponsor of Supper with Sylvia. Try their We Love Local products. So this leadership development program, then, I want you to share with me, because I love these personal stories. I want you to share with me a mentoring program or a mentorship that you have done, because you've done so many one-on-one that were not under a program, or somebody under one of your current programs who you have noticed has been directly impacted in a positive way. There are so many, but I love these kind of behind the scenes story. Is there anybody, and you don't have to name names, is there anybody in particular who you can tell us about that you can say to yourself, this is why I do this?
Well, absolutely. So I will name a name. We have a gentleman right now. We've got quite a few in our group right now, and I'll focus in a little bit because I gave you a lot about the backstory, but I didn't give you a lot about the current. So everything I said previously led to this kind of pinnacle for me, which is Virtue Leadership Development. Mm-hmm. And now we're using the restaurant as an incubator where we can teach young people of color how to use their skills, their innate skills, their survival skills to adapt in a work environment. And those skills happen to be the ability to think on your feet. And when we say think on your feet, think under pressure. We work with people who are not afraid to work in a hostile and or dangerous environment. Those don't necessarily sound like skills until you think about this term, analysis paralysis, the inability to be able to make decisions because you're overanalyzing a situation. Well, the reality is many of our inner city youth are conditioned for that work. And so it translates appropriately in kitchens. Any given day, someone's walking around with a knife. They may be carrying it correctly. They may not. Any given day, someone's walking with a hot pot of liquid. They may be using terms like behind, corner, hot, or they may miss saying that, and you turn the corner, and that person has to stop on a dime. The liquid doesn't stop. It comes out of the pot, right? And whoever it touches, it scorches. Hot fryers, fire, open hearts, and extremely hot metal by way of saute pans, tongs, and all these things. And so there's a attention to detail and attention to your surroundings that's required in restaurants that we found that young people who are adaptable, and when I say young, I'm talking about anybody younger than me, which is a lot of people, that are adaptable are able to find value in their work and then double down on finding value in themselves. And so one of the gentlemen that comes to mind, his name is Devontae Josie. He came to us a couple years ago and has been a bright star since he's been with us. We have been working closely with him. He has gotten advanced in the company very quickly because he absorbs fast. Mm-hmm. And he is a hard-working, hard-nosed young man that comes in every day trying to be better than he was the day before. And he has some of those skills. He has the ability to listen. We encounter a lot of people who do more talking than they do listening. And you can't get information in if you're in a rush to get information out. And so we use very, very common principles, common sense, as a matter of fact, and we fortify those methods and those techniques to get success and to grant success to people in the community that are in need of an opportunity and in need of opportunities that they might not get in other spaces. Young people of color who want to work with chefs of color. There aren't a lot, unfortunately, of chefs of color as it relates to the percentage of chefs that are in our city. Young folk that want to get into cooking, but may not have anything other than a sanitation certificate. How do they use their desire to be in our field and grow in our field without the stigma of not having the same education as someone else who may be applying for the same position? And so we offer opportunity. And you might wonder why I do it. And I can tell you, and this will be the briefest answer I'll give. I do it because someone did it for me.
Was that when you were at MK?
Well, I received many, many opportunities at MK and all kinds of opportunities. I went through a lot of evolutions at MK, and I was a challenge, and they embraced that side of me, and they worked with me and polished me. But my career didn't start at Virtue; it just blossomed. Mm-hmm. I mean, not Virtue.
MK, yeah.
My career didn't start at MK, but it did blossom, and those were my most formidable years.
Yeah. Yeah. So for people who don't know, MK was an amazing restaurant that Chef Erick was in charge of. You did some amazing fine dining. You've taken those skills, not only learning as a person, but your culinary skills, and that's why Virtue is so incredible. Okay, so you are a man who is very passionate and very serious about his work. But I want to know, what does Erick Williams do when he wants to have a good time? What do you do for fun?
Well, there's so many things that I do for fun. I just got back from a 3-day quick trip to New Orleans. Part of the fun in my life has to do with food. Mm-hmm. Like most people, right? You go to a party, you're looking for the festive snacks and things of that sort. I'm not looking so much for festive snacks. That's actually polar opposite of the way that I like to enjoy food. I am usually looking for innovative meals, and I'm looking for them in every possible way that you can receive them. So a really great sandwich, um, street food. I went to a place in New Orleans that is like a seafood buffet. And I'm not a big buffet guy, I gotta tell you. I don't really love food that's been sitting out in large containers, um, and people are serving themselves. I do better if someone's serving me, but
Sure.
if you got to serve yourself, not that I'm above that.
Right.
I just don't think everybody has the proper manners to be serving themselves food that other people might have to eat behind them.
Oh, yeah.
And so this place was phenomenal. I mean, like it's the best gumbo I've had to date.
What?
And
I've had your gumbo. That's saying a lot because your
well,
gumbo's amazing.
thank you so much, and I appreciate that. But they have an advantage in New Orleans. One, they don't have the stigma of cold weather, like really cold weather. So in Chicago, gumbo needs to have more roux. It needs to be thicker because Chicagoans want soup that sticks to your bones.
Right.
And that's the framework that we grade a good soup, right? In Nolans, that's not the case. It's a very flavorful broth. They have a body of water that contributes to the flavor of that broth. They make incredible sausage in Nolans like nobody else. And they really pour into it in a different way. And I say that with a lot of humility. As a Northerner who often calls New Orleans, New Orleans more often than Nolans, it's just a fun experience for me.
Yeah.
The culture of the people, by way of the exchange, and not all of the parties and the festivities, but just the interaction. People are kind, they're caring, and even on the heels of the tragedy that just happened in New Orleans, you would think maybe people would be a little bit more guarded or uptight. No, it's still the Big Easy.
Yeah.
And I love that about that space. So I have fun going out and dining in new places, sometimes unusual places throughout the country. And that's how I seek relief and downtime. And if I'm really, really looking for a reset, then I go somewhere where there's water and sand. And I'm not a big sand person, but I love hotel rooms that overlook sand and water.
So you have to get in them.
See it, but not have to clean it.
Right. Okay. I'm going to ask you a series of questions, just quick questions that I want to get your response from. The best restaurant you've ever eaten at anywhere?
Oh boy. That's hard for me. I've eaten at some amazing restaurants. I'm going to fail this answer, and I'm going to offend somebody if I say one restaurant. So I'm sorry. I got
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this then. Let's since we're Chicago centrics, let's focus on Chicago. I'm not asking you your favorite restaurant in Chicago. Okay. I'm asking you your go-to comfort restaurant in Chicago that, you've had a long week of work and you finally have some time and you just want to be casual and comfortable and eat something that makes you feel good. Where are you going to go?
Okay. Off the top, one of the patios, I actually think it's the best patio in the city. And I'll take the hit for this. Tony Priolo's patio is hands down a fun place to eat on a warm spring day, warm fall day, and definitely throughout the summer.
Pico Lasagna, the best.
Yes. For lunch or brunch, Lula Cafe, 10 toes down. Jason Hamill is one of my dear friends, and he has a place that's one of my favorite places to eat in the city for those two options. Gideon would be Zaragoza. Jonathan's family crushes it, hands down. Mexican fare, from Frontera sits high on my list, and their bar downstairs crushes. Uber inspiring, really fresh.
Okay, let me ask you this. Let me give you some direction. When you and your wife, because you have a beautiful son, but when you and your wife want to have a romantic dinner, Valentine's Day is coming up, where would you take her in Chicago?
Okay. We don't go out for Valentine's Day. I don't get Valentine's Day off. But if we want some downtime, because every day we're together, it's romance. So Boca sits high on my list. I love what Lee Williams' team does at Boca. I often go to Monteverde with friends casually.
It's so
Rosemary
good.
is high on my list for casual dinner with friends.
We're so lucky, aren't we, Eric? Fact that we have the most amazing restaurants in this town, and you've just kind of covered a gamut from, we haven't even mentioned yours, like Daisy's Po' Boy, which is so casual and delicious, and we just have a plethora of choices. There's a reason why people call Chicago one of the best restaurant cities in the world, right?
Yes.
And you get to be a part of that.
Here, I'll give you a little known fact.
Okay.
So James Beard Day. We've done this for a number of years. We rent out the restaurant, Elche, before the awards, because we know it's the one hearty meal we're going to get after bouncing around in a very long day. Mm-hmm. And both Elche and Bracero are high on my list of places because I love John Mannion and I love what he does.
Mm-hmm. I love it. So speaking of James Beard, I feel like the post-pandemic, when we didn't even get into what you did during the pandemic, Eric was one of the first to try to pivot and do takeout, but your main focus was making sure you kept your employees employed. And then I remember, I believe you started cutting back on the takeout and focusing on trying to feed the first responders. And so that brings me back to all these accolades, including, you were voted Chicagoan of the Year because of that and many of the other things that you have done. It's incredible to go over the list. So 2020, Chicagoan of the Year. 2020, Best Chef, Great Lakes, James Beard. 2021, the Mayoral Medal of Honor for work with working with the first responders. 2023, Innovator of the Year. 2023, Power 50, Most Powerful People with Fine Dining. 2024, Who's Who in Food and Beverage. And I am just touching the surface. And I know how humble you are. And I know that you're honored to have all those accolades. But I want to leave with this. Bottom line, what do you really want your legacy to be? You've made it, Eric, and now you're paying back. You're helping others. And I know there are many more awards to come, but I know that's not as important to you. What do you want your legacy to be?
I don't spend a lot of time thinking about legacy, to tell you the truth. So I'm a part of many communities. And I think if I had one ambition in my life, it would be to leave here better than I came and to leave my communities better than they were when I found them. And I want my son, when his father's name is mentioned, to feel with pride, knowing that his father worked hard for everything that he will receive in his life that's inherited. How much impact can I make in the lives that are adjacent to me and that mean the most to me? And if I can make an impact in those lives may make an impact in others that I'll never meet. And I guess if I just said one word in relation to legacy, it would probably be impact.
Love that. Well, you're definitely doing that. Chef Erick Williams, what a pleasure. I look forward to seeing you out and about and continue to do everything that you do because you brought so many contributions to the city and I know so many more to come. So here is to a great 2025. This podcast is produced by Jane Stevens, audio engineering and original music by Donnie Cutting, social media and promotions, Magali Blaisdell.